Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back. Today I'm going to be sharing my mental health story with you thus far. I just want to start off by reading a quote to you. This is a quote by Maya Angelou, and it says, "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you." And I think that that's totally the truth. I think that we need to be authentic. We need to use our voices and get our stories out there. And it's hard to do because we have to be very vulnerable. But I think that it's important. And so I'm going to be extremely vulnerable and tell you guys the gist of my story. I'll go more in depth in future videos, but I'm going to give you the gist of it today. You might see me look down or to the side if I'm looking at my notes. Mostly I'm just going to go off the cuff. Or you might see me get a drink because I have dry mouth really bad. So anyway, here we go. So I started struggling with depression and anxiety in my teens. When I was 15, I started seeing a psychologist. He's the same psychologist that I see today. So we're really close. He's almost like a second dad to me. When I was 20, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And at age 20, I was also married for the first time. And it was really hard because my first husband was not very understanding or supportive. He said that I just chose to act that way like an alcoholic chooses alcohol. And that was really hurtful. It was really ignorant. And I don't say that as like a diss at him, like some personal vendetta against him. You know, I forgive him for the hurt he caused me and everything. I say that for the sake of relatability. I know there's people out there that have probably had similar things said to them. And so that's the reason why I'm going to say a couple of these comments. I also struggle with cutting. And he said that I'm an embarrassment to him, that he didn't want to be seen in public with me with all those cuts. And that also hurt really bad because I really needed support. I was trying to get leveled out on some medication, and I was newly diagnosed, and it was hard not to have his support. It didn't help also that some members of his family told people not to be friends with me, that I was crazy. And that's hard, you know, that's ignorance, that's stigma. And we'll talk more about that in future videos. The marriage lasted 6 years. We ended up getting divorced. Fast forward, I ended up getting married again. That marriage didn't last either. Got divorced. In 2014, I was diagnosed with another mental illness. It's called borderline personality disorder. And things were really hard. Bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder are both severe mental illnesses, but together, let me tell you, they are a wicked combination. And I was very, very unstable. I was also in a relationship at that time, and I was not doing well. And I was, in 2015, I was dumped by my boyfriend. And within days of that, I attempted suicide. And I ended up in the ICU on a ventilator. And the attempt was not just because I was dumped by my boyfriend. You know, there was a lot of things going on that led up to that. It wasn't just that I was dumped. And that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. But this was the darkest of dark times in my life. It's really hard to describe how I felt at that time in my life. It was like being in an abyss, in like this dark hole where you can't see anybody or anything, and you're just alone in this with your pain, and that's it. And I mean, I was in such agony that I was in physical pain. I know that sounds weird, but it was emotional, but I felt it in my physical body. And I know this sounds silly, but when I got out of the hospital, I actually slept every night with a stuffed animal because like I just felt this gut-wrenching empty feeling, feeling just utterly alone. And I would literally sob myself to sleep. And the only way I could get through it would be to just clutch a stuffed animal. And I know that's silly. I'm an adult woman, but it's the only way that I could get through it. And that's what I did. It was undescribable. I'll talk more about that also in future videos when we discuss suicide. But it was really hard. It was really hard. So now, fast forward, about 8 months after that suicide attempt, I actually got back together with my ex-boyfriend that had broken up with me. And I got pregnant with my son. And he was like a light in the darkness. There's a whole backstory there, but in my previous marriages, I had difficulty getting pregnant. And so this was such a blessing. This was such a miracle. He's my miracle baby. And so today, I'm not in a relationship, but I'm a single mom. And things are hard. I still struggle. But I've come a long way. I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot of coping skills, which I will share with you in future videos. And I'm just a lot more stable than I used to be. I take my medications. I see my psychologist every other week. And I'm just hanging in there as best that I can and doing life. And I would really like to hear your story. If you feel comfortable sharing it with me, I'm assuming most of you probably don't want to post your, life story in the comments. And so I did set up an email address so you could correspond with me directly. And it is youmatteralways247@gmail.com. And it's also on my YouTube channel. And so I would love to hear from you. And we can correspond that way privately. Or if you just want to ask me a question or send me an email, I'd love to hear from you guys. And from my heart to yours, I just want you to know that you matter and that you are so precious, absolutely precious. And the world is a better place because you are in it. And I know that it doesn't feel like that at times because, like I said, I've been there. I've been in that dark, dark place. But you matter. You matter. So if you're looking for a sign to stay on this planet, here's your sign right here. I'm telling you that you matter. Okay? And I want to leave off with this quote. And it says, "Your heartache is someone else's hope. If you make it through, somebody else is going to make it through. Tell your story." So tell your story. Take care.